Hello and welcome to Physical Therapy, a movie podcast from good friends who are obsessed with films and their physical media collections. We are here every week talking Blu-rays and 4Ks, the latest announcements, the newest releases, and, just shooting the shit about movies, recommending movies. My name is Kurt.
And I'm Sam.
Kimberly, our wonderful producer, is also here. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kurt.
Hello, Kim.
Samo.
This, everyone, is our 10th episode of this podcast. We are very excited to be celebrating that momentous anniversary.
Monumental
Anniversary. Monstrous anniversary by having our first ever guest. Please.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Hello.
Welcome everyone to our show. Drew Hanks. Drew is a filmmaker, an animation writer, a Blu-ray connoisseur, and a former neighbor of Kim and I's.
And a hell of a guy.
Oh, Kim.
Howdy, neighbor. Thank you for that. That's so sweet. I think it's so fitting, our movie, if it's number X.
Number X.
The Departed going on here.
Oh.
That's pretty great.
Exactly. Yes.
Off the bat.
Today's episode is about the 2006 Martin Scorsese crime masterpiece, The Departed, which just got a 4K release from Warner Brothers. So we'll be talking all about that later on. But first, how was everyone's week in movies? What did you guys see?
I went to Abbott and Costello's Hold That Ghost.
Ooh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it was my first time seeing it. It was a beautiful print, greatly projected by a friend, Amelia, at My Sleeping Serenade, I think is her Instagram, but she's the best. She projected The Made Man, a feature film that I made one time, and she rules. She did a great job projecting the print, and I got to go up into the booth afterwards and take a little look around there, and it's absolutely beautiful.
At the Vista?
At the Vista.
Dang,
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
So the Vista is like a very famous old single screen theater in Los Angeles that has recently been sort of renovated by Quentin Tarantino. And that was your first time, Drew, in the booth there?
Yeah, and super, super cool, very spacious. That's what Amelia described it as well. And of all the booths that I've been in, it was definitely the most spacious. Normally, it's like this sort of thing that you like shuffle around and, you kind of make room where you can, but it was very nice up there.
Do they have a 70 millimeter projector on standby all the time?
They do. They have the setup there. And it was interesting because I've seen new releases there. That's their thing. They'll have like a sort of main event that runs for like the full week. And then they might have a midnight or matinee that is like a rep screening.
Yeah.
They did a month where they did IB Technicolor. That was like all rep screening for like 1 month, but mainly it's like a new thing like Napoleon on 70 millimeter or like Thanksgiving on 35 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few new releases there, and I was always like, oh, wait, I don't think I saw a real change there. And it was really interesting because we talked about that because they're playing Civil War there now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I guess it was printed was like, it's just like one full like platter reel. And I was always like thinking like, wait, do they do reel to reel or platter? But the new releases seem to be platter.
Wow.
And then the, revival rep stuff is reel to reel. So they're set up for both.
Cool.
Wow.
They have platter and they have reel to reel. They do 35, they do 70, and they just opened that micro cinema that plays 16 millimeter and VHS.
I saw pictures of that online. It looks great.
Wait, what? I didn't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's super cool. They call it the Video Archive Cinema Club. April was the first month of its programming. It's like a 20-seat micro cinema that you enter in through the Vista, and it's just like a little micro cinema. It's super, super beautiful. Great programming. I was able to actually get there a few times this month, but I've been like working my way through their calendar because it's a lot of stuff that I either hadn't seen or had been meaning to see. There's a lot of like French films that I'm like, oh, I've seen all of these French films, but then all the other stuff is kind of deeper cuts, and it's really solid.
Awesome.
At the Music Box in Chicago, their second screen
Yes.
is like a tiny micro cinema like that.
Cool.
Love that second screen. I've seen so many equally memorable screenings there as I have in the main theater.
Kurt, Reed and I saw a movie there when we were still in school. What was that? It was a French film. I know that.
Ooh. Was it a revival?
It was.
It was a Vivre sa vie?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I think. Yes.
Yeah. My Life to Live.
You know what's so funny? That's one of the movies that is,
really?
when I said the French
That's
films,
funny.
that's one of them that played. And I distinctly remember seeing that at the Siskel, actually.
Oh,
Shout out
funny. Okay, cool.
Gene Siskel Film Center. The one that I distinctly remember seeing in theater too at the Music Box is Neil Young Trunk Show, which was like a super great like live Neil Young
cool.
concert film.
That's cool.
I took my dad to that.
Hell yeah.
Wait, Drew, are you a Chicago guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we not talk about this when I was in LA?
I don't know.
If we didn't, maybe the martinis, made us misremember
Interrupted.
those things. Yeah.
Well,
They got
dang,
in the way.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah.
Art Institute.
Oh, okay. Did you grow up in Chicago?
Like an hour south. But then I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago for a
Awesome.
couple years and kind of lived there a little bit after. And
I don't know if I put that together. That's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, Sam's from there too.
Yeah.
Hell
We're
yeah.
just a couple of Midwestern boys. Sorry, Kim.
Sorry, Kim.
You wouldn't get it.
Drew, what's Hold That Ghost? What's it about?
Hold That Ghost stars Abbott and Costello. They are gas station attendees that become nightclub waiters. They inherit this like roadhouse hotel that is like quote unquote haunted, but it's really just, them not understanding the like prohibition switches that the sort of like gags have there, and they milk that all they can. It's really fun. Yeah, Amelia, the projectionist, she was talking about how like for her it's crazy to think, but that's like the second movie she's seen the most. And for some people like Abbott and Costello, if it got to you at the right time, then you saw it like all the time.
Wow.
The other one they had played before is Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Both films, Hold That Ghost and Meet the Mummy. Kind of spoiler alert. So if you are worried about hearing spoilers for Abbott and Costello movies, mute for 10 seconds.
I think the statute of limitations has passed.
Yeah, I agree. But they both end with them turning whatever situation they have into a nightclub. Which I thought was like, do these guys just want a nightclub? Like, you can just open. Yeah. But yeah, it was an absolute thrill. Very, very fun.
Nice.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I've seen it a long time ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Did you grow up with Abbott and Costello?
Yeah,
Does your dad love it?
he does. He loves them. He loves
That
the
tracks.
Marx Brothers. What's the one? I always confused it with
Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yes,
Dude, Meet Frankenstein is so good.
it is so good.
That's the only one I had seen beforehand.
Aren't Frankenstein, Werewolf, and Dracula in that one?
Yeah.
That one's awesome.
That's kind of the entryway for a lot of people who didn't.
Yeah.
Is there a good Abbott and Costello box set from anybody?
I could be totally mistaken, but I feel like there's just like a regular like universal collection of their films.
That'd be cool to get. I've seen very few of them, but I like them a lot.
Having now seen Meet the Mummy and this, I've been kind of like, oh, should I pick one up? But I'm kind of like, we'll just see. So far they've been programming it, pretty regularly. Maybe I'll get to catch more. They're really fun with audiences, but yeah, that thought has crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd even just get like a DVD collection of that just to have them,
I did not see anything in theaters, but what I did watch is The Sixth Day.
Ooh.
On our
Ooh.
Arnold. Okay, I've apparently been pronouncing Arnold's last name wrong, and it's driving Kurt insane.
I was editing our last episode, down to the wire before uploading it. So it was like Thursday night. It was late, and I was just irritable. And like I came across a clip where Sam said like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I just texted him, and I was like, "Why do you say it like this?" Sam, what's the premise of The Sixth Day?
I'm just going to read the back really quickly. Superstar Arnold Schwarzenegger
Thank you.
is Adam, an ace pilot in the very near future who is having a serious identity crisis. An evil corporation illegally cloned him, and now they're trying to kill him to hide the evidence. Torn from his beloved family and faced with a shocking exact duplicate of himself, Adam races against time to reclaim his life and save the world from the underground cloning movement.
So is there an evil Arnold?
No spoilers, but there is another Arnold.
Damn, this movie sounds good.
It's pretty fucking silly, but I had a good time. Other than Michael Rappaport is in it.
Fox's The War at Home's Michael Rappaport was in it.
This is the one where the cover looks like Total Recall, kind of? Like he's like strapped to a thing?
Yeah, he's got like little things over his eyes and his chin's in a little strap.
I don't think I've seen this.
I watched it last night for the first time since seeing it in movie theaters 24 years ago. It's not good. Same director as Tomorrow Never Dies.
Who directed? I'm sorry. Who directed
His
Tomorrow Never
name
Dies? I can't remember.
Is Roger. Okay, it's the most like British sounding name of all time. Roger Spottiswoode.
Okay. Cool.
Spottiswoode.
Yeah.
Fun enough. Like one of the ugliest looking movies I've ever seen in my life. It's 2000, so it's kind of that like probably shot on film, but a lot of digital enhancements through it. And there are these like inserts that they put in between almost every shot. Or almost every scene, rather. And the inserts are the same every time. So it's this like bird's eye view of a road, but then they kind of like space that out so it looks like it's a lot of different reels of film, but it's all done digitally. And it is so fucking ugly to look at and so fucking annoying because it happens like 16 times throughout the whole movie. But, you know, it's 2 hours and 2 minutes. There's like plenty to cut out of it, but I had a good time.
Cell pile?
No, we were like running 15 minutes late to record this episode and I bought like 600 movies during that time. I now think I'm going to curate a Arnold shelf. So look out for that on the Instagram page.
Did any sub-label put that out? That release?
It was literally a $10 eBay purchase because the place that I buy used discs from in Portland didn't have it. And Amazon was trying to charge me $19.99. No, thank you, Jeff. So we went to eBay. I got it. I think I got it from a Goodwill, I think in St. Louis for $10. So thank you, Goodwill of America.
Thank you, Goodwill.
The 6th day.
If Arrow announced a 4K like deluxe box set with a sick cover of the 6th day, you'd rebuy
in a heartbeat. In a fucking heartbeat. Yeah. Kurt and Kim, what about you guys?
Oh, guys, we saw an IMAX screening of Challengers last night.
Ooh, okay. I want to see it still, so I have it.
It's so good.
A+.
Obsessed.
Nice.
One of the best movies I've seen in a while.
How does it compare to fucking boners and all?
Far better.
Okay,
far better. Far better. I did not like that movie very much. So, yeah, highly recommend.
Cool.
Any Mark Rylance hair sort of show up? Braids of hair, Mark Rylance, maybe?
He did not appear in Challengers.
No cameos. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Just like watching the tennis match.
That would be great.
I picked up and watched for the first time the new release of Rolling Thunder.
Oh shit, mine hasn't come yet.
That movie's amazing.
Yeah.
Who put it out?
Shout.
Okay. Is it I have their Blu-ray from a few years ago.
They just did a 4K.
Oh no shit. That's sick. Somehow that got past my radar.
Is it a new transfer?
Yeah, it's a new 4K transfer from the 35 original negative.
That's awesome. Classic.
So good. If people are not familiar with Rolling Thunder, it's a 1977 movie about POW survivors coming back from Vietnam. The main character it follows is like a major who was imprisoned and is struggling to reacclimate to society. And then eventually it becomes sort of like a revenge thriller where injustices are done to this major and he goes after the people who did them.
I have a Order into Diabolic with that on it.
It's a movie I had heard about, I think, through the Tarantino podcast, honestly. It was the first time I had heard of it. And then, I don't know, it just kept popping up. So I was excited to see that it was announced. And yeah, just like a wild movie. And I've read the Tarantino Speculations on Cinema article about it today and learned about how much wilder Schrader's original script originally was. But it's a great movie.
That idea of him coming into drive-in and Travis Bickle is in the other car next to him. That's always one of those I'm like, oh, that's so fun.
Yes.
That's so fun.
Who directed Rolling Thunder?
John Flynn is his name.
Rolling Thunder is such a fun movie.
Yeah.
That's one that I had seen because Tarantino would always like reference it. He'd always like cite it as like a thing. And that's one of his favorite movies. I remember renting it on VHS from like there's this place called Mokina Video back in the Illinois suburbs. That was this place right next to a train that was just this long sort of like hall of like VHS and DVD and Blu-rays and stuff. But yeah, I would rent it from there and got the Blu-ray once that came out, and then I've caught a 35 screening of it at the New Bev, and
it'd be great with a crowd.
Yeah.
And it is, yeah. Tarantino's just been like a championer of that film, and yeah, that's dope. I'll have to pick up that 4K.
Have you seen it, Sam?
Yeah, I've seen it for sure. I hadn't seen it until I moved to Portland, where I believe I first became aware of it when they just had an old trailer on it at the Hollywood for a rep screening of something. And then like I heard people talking about it on podcasts more often. Like Bill Hader made mention of it at one point because he really loves the Tommy Lee Jones scene where he was like, let me get my gear. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of like started coming up more, and then the Tarantino stuff came out. So I'm really stoked to get that new disc because it's been a minute since I've seen it.
Are you aware that the lead actor William Devane plays the president of the United States in The Dark Knight Rises?
No, I wasn't. That's incredible. Hell yeah.
He's also in McCabe and Mrs.
Yes,
Miller.
He is.
Yeah, he's in a
the
bunch
lawyer.
Of stuff. Wait, Kurt. What Drew just said reminded me of a question I meant to ask. When you guys were growing up, did you have access to a video store that was not just like, the Blockbuster, the Hollywood Video of it all, that actually like curated a pretty good selection of stuff?
I would not say curated necessarily, but we went to a mom and pop shop for a long time. I ended up working there in high school. It's the best job I ever had.
Yeah.
That was eventually, put out of business basically by a Blockbuster. And then I also grew up going to like a lake house pretty often. And near that, there was a gas station that had like,
hell yeah,
a rotating kind of tower of VHSs. And so many of them were like mediocre 90s thrillers, which I think is why I love them so much to this day, because it reminds me of that sort of nostalgia. But
sure.
I wouldn't say I had access to some place that was like thoughtfully curating.
Also, yeah, Mokina Video. No shade to Mokina Video, but it also was not curated. It was one of those like they just wouldn't get rid of what they had, and like they've just been open for, it was a mom and pop, just like exactly what you're talking about, Kurt. And even once the guy realized how much I was going and how much I was like checking out that like wasn't the norm sort of thing, he was like, if you ever want to look at the inventory, I have it all printed out here. I can give you the and so sometimes I would just flip through what he had. Like the majority of what we have is not out here. And so like that was like, a thing.
Damn, that's awesome.
I mean, not curated, but still like just to have access to that many titles. I mean, that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I would also check out a lot of stuff from the library.
I learned about the library renting media like too late in my life. Not that I never utilized it, but like had I been a kid and known that I could have gone and gotten movies, that would have been a game changer.
I also got a 4K from Arrow that I watched of Children of the Corn.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Are you a fan
of Children of the Corn?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like dumb as fuck, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. It's pretty bad, but I enjoyed it.
What are the kids' names? Isaac and
Malachi.
Outlander, we have your woman.
It looks remarkable. I will say that.
Sure.
It was honestly a movie where like I watched it and I said, I think that movie was pretty bad, but the transfer and the packaging is so good that I was like, well, I guess I'm keeping this.
Is yours like a normal Arrow case?
With a slip, but yeah.
I think they did a big box of like 1, 2, and 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I know there was like a Region B one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've seen 3. I think 3 is called like Urban Harvest.
I think so, yeah.
You want to talk about fucking bad movies. Watch Children of the Corn 3, man.
I think I'm good. I think 1 is enough. Pretty fun though. Linda Hamilton. So Drew, you mentioned briefly The Made Man, which is a feature film that you wrote and directed. Not only that, but is available for purchase on Blu-ray. Why don't you tell people about The Made Man?
Thank you for asking, Kurt. It is a mafia sex comedy. I don't know how else to dive into the subject matter of the movie other than just saying that. If you're listening, you have access to the internet. Go on YouTube, Google it. Go on YouTube and Google it. Would you? Yeah, it was a film that I wrote and then produced it, shot it out here in Los Angeles. It was a super down and dirty, just 4-day shoot. It's if you like indies, if you like that sort of genre film, if you like dark comedies, if you like the idea of like midnight movies, that's kind of what I was going for. It was a blast to make. I ended up getting a 35 millimeter film print of it and did some screenings out here in LA. Kurt and Kim came to a couple of them.
It gets better every time we see it.
It really is very good.
It's like we laugh about it.
Oh yeah,
pretty
absolutely
consistently. Like really, it's just so funny. Highly recommend. You must see it.
Thank you guys. Yeah, so we have a 35 millimeter film print of it, and also I did a Kickstarter to get the film professionally authored and manufactured to Blu-ray. And so we had a nice release of that, and that's available on diabolicdvd.com, and that has our 1080p transfer that they authored over there, and it also has the 5.1 soundtrack.
And an audio commentary?
And an audio commentary
yeah.
from myself. Yes.
Did you shoot on film?
No, we did not. We shot with a Blackmagic Ursa Pro Mini, and we shot it in 4K. I would have loved to shoot it in 16, but I knew exactly what film stock we would have used, so we used that as our LUT that we had programmed into the camera while we were shooting. And I have some experience in the art department and on stuff that has black and white photography within it, so I drew from that a lot, as well as far as like the production design and the costume.
Cool.
It's very much inspired by film noir and stuff like that. It's kind of like as close you can get to a narrative without it being a spoof of like film noir.
Yeah,
it's very good. And the experience of seeing the 35 transfer, like digitally transferred to 35, which we were talking about a little bit with the Vista, you know, that's sort of what they're doing with these big brand new digitally shot new release movies. So it's more popular, but at that time I had never really seen that, I don't think, and I was really blown away by how great it looked.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it black and white 35, like yeah, it was gorgeous. And it's honestly such an achievement. Like the fact that you shot it in 4 days, it does not feel that way. It's very like engaging, and it moves, and it's very smart. It's very well done and inspiring too.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone who sees it and knows how it was made, it makes, you know, people who are interested in filmmaking, it's like makes you just want to get up and do it. I know what you had to work with, and what you put out is like so impressive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely try to, anytime I can, to talk about the process and how I was able to do something like that. You know, the commentary track is there for independent up and coming filmmakers just to listen to and to, if anything, relate to, if not learn.
Hell yeah.
How was the process of getting it to Blu-ray?
It was very, very fun. There's plenty of companies out there that you can give them a file and they will put it on Blu-ray. But then once you start to try and find a professional like author or manufacturer, there's this company that I found called Optical Media. They're out there and they're great. I highly, highly, highly recommend these guys if you're someone in kind of like me, just looking to get your film out there and then self-distributing it. Definitely check out Optical Media. It was a back and forth. We, would discuss, and I eventually sent them a hard drive that included just the ProRes, the highest output. They authored that and then mailed me a test copy, and I would watch it and we'd have notes and then exchange and go back and forth. And then eventually it was like, okay, we're good. There's graphics and templates and such for like the cover, and there's a 12-page booklet that I had designed for it as well, and have writings from myself and a good friend of mine who is a Chicago critic. Actually, his name's Josh Parham. Just as someone who is a collector and someone who loves getting physical media, it was like a through the looking glass kind of moment. And one funny thing that I do distinctly remember that was like, oh, okay, so that's different on the other side is obviously you guys know slipcovers, right?
Yes.
They call them O cards.
O cards.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah, but they almost to the point where like I was like, oh, like a slipcover, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
And it was kind of fun, just like how much does that cost? What's that like? And there's like a slipcover. What are you talking about? And they call them O cards.
Damn, I love it. O cards from here on out only.
O cards,
Oh, dude.
O cards all day.
I don't know if I can jump on that train.
The made man sits snugly between Saving Mr. Banks and That Thing You Do on my shelf, just so you know.
You own Saving Mr. Banks?
Kim?
I'm honored.
Yes. It's actually
It's really
Kim?
good.
cute.
It actually is really good.
It's really good.
Kim?
Colin
to
Farrell's
talk about
amazing
your-
in it.
Incredible.
Oh my
There's an
God.
incredible Tom Hanks monologue too in that movie.
And there's, yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of the O-Neaters, so I
Good.
am very grateful for that.
Good.
God.
Really good.
Oh my God.
All right, let's talk about some of the announcements we've heard recently. In June, there's going to be a Steelbook 4K from Sony of Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver has been available, but only in the Columbia box set. The second volume, I think, that came out of those, the 4Ks.
Oh, this is a bigger deal than I thought then.
I would advise people, if they're interested in getting Taxi Driver, to do it soon or pre-order it soon, because I know that they did that with Lawrence of Arabia, which was a similar situation where like it had only been in the Columbia box set, and then they did the Steelbook from Sony and it went out of print like right away.
Oh, shit.
Taxi Driver is, in my opinion, maybe like the best looking 4K.
Wait, do you have that box set
Yeah, I do.
because of Taxi Driver?
Yes, basically because of Taxi Driver. There was something else in there that was, that was maybe a different one. Social Network? I think it was the same
Yeah.
box set. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Social
Okay.
networks. And,
Yeah. Taxi Driver, though, is just like, as far as like an old school film grain texture presentation, like one of the best in my opinion. So
But Steelbook only, huh?
so far it seems like Steelbook only.
Bummer.
Good cover though.
Great cover. The cover is the Blu-ray that I have.
I was going through my old DVDs and I found my old DVD of Taxi Driver.
Yeah. What remind me what that looked like? I mean, I'm sure there's a few, but
It was the one with this kind of font. Jodie Foster's in the foreground, like smaller against like a building or something, and then in the main cover is like him but like silver with like the mohawk and stuff, and it's like just his face, if I'm remembering correctly.
was it like a standard case?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just like a regular case, but
I feel like I had kind of like a Pulp Fiction kind of deluxe edition type package for it. I can't remember what it looked like, but I feel like I had that DVD. I'm sure there's been
Yeah,
millions.
Mine
but-
was even was even different than that. Mine was like a book that had a yellow and black. It was all yellow and black.
Speaking of Rolling Thunder, a good companion piece to that movie, Taxi Driver.
absolutely.
So yeah, excited for that, for people to have more access to it. And then some fun like Kino action movies coming to 4K. Narrow Margin, Turbulence, and Blown Away all got announced. I'm a really big fan of the Narrow Margin. It's Narrow Margin, the remake. I'm a big fan of that one.
I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, Sam, I know you had some thoughts on Blown Away. It's not one I've seen, but it looks like it would be something I'd like.
It's like it's a movie of bad accents. I don't know. It's just not very exciting. Like I just remember being like bored halfway through it.
Drew, have you seen Turbulence?
I haven't seen any of these three.
Yo, what's up with Turbulence? That's the real question.
Yeah, Turbulence is Lauren Holly and Ray Liotta, and it's like a thriller action airplane movie.
Amazing.
And I'm pretty sure he's like a serial killer.
I hope so. I don't know.
I think it's like a prisoner transport on a plane. Plane gets caught.
Isn't that Plane? Isn't that what that's about?
Wait, excuse me. Is there a... Oh, wait. Yeah, there was a movie called Plane.
Oh yeah, there's a movie called Plane.
Kurt
Plane.
loves it.
Yeah,
Plane
no, I
rips.
know. You could ask Kurt. Every 7 months, I just send him a screenshot of the man who directed Plane.
That's true. Narrow Margin's this great early 90s action thriller where Gene Hackman plays a cop who's transporting a witness played by Ann Archer via train to try to get her like safely to testify. But there's bad guys on the train trying to get her, and there's like incredible miniatures and some really fun stunts and stuff in that.
I'm excited by that.
What about you guys? What'd you see announced?
We talked about this briefly, Kurt. There's some good imprint stuff coming out. Well, I mean, There's some interesting imprint stuff coming out. There's this movie that I don't really know called The Juror.
Oh, yeah.
Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, they definitely had The Juror on that VHS rotating tower that I'm talking about growing up, but I was not allowed to rent that.
Again, another mid-90s thriller where I believe the mob is like trying to put pressure on a member of a jury.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, come on. It's just like that, again, that mid-90s thriller. I'll watch them all.
Yep.
I saw that Kino is putting out Columbo, the second half of the episodes, and I think they're calling it Columbo the Return. But yeah, I have Columbo the 1970s. I've been working my way through that. It's 5 sets, I believe, within the actual slip, and I have one last case to work through.
Is Columbo awesome?
Yeah, it rules. I'm a huge fan of TV, especially like TV from that era put on media in any form, but it is really fun to see these beautiful restorations and transfers that companies like Kino does. They also did the Kolchak the Night Stalker set, which is another great release of television from the 70s.
I just picked up The Outer Limits from Kino.
Yeah. I've got that.
Seasons 1 and 2.
I have those as well.
So I think I've seen a couple of the episodes in passing, but it's kind of like Twilight Zone, but a little bit more sci-fi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. I'm excited to dive into those.
Oh, yeah. And it's wonderful because they're shot on film. It's so bizarre to think that they were shot on film back then and then watched on television.
Yeah.
And to like, are we the ones seeing it this well for the first time?
Yep.
It's crazy.
I mean, probably. Yeah, that's crazy, right?
The earlier ones, you can kind of tell when it's a director who like, maybe they just knew somebody early on that they somehow got into the cycle. But other ones are just really well done. And also, Steven Spielberg directed like one of the earliest installments, the earliest cases of Columbo.
Spielberg also directed an early segment on Night Gallery.
Yes.
Rod Serling's second show after Twilight Zone.
Absolutely.
Which Kino has also put out, and they look incredible.
Yeah, we love Kino. We love Kino.
Keep it up, Kino.
I kiss every one of my Kino releases on the forehead before I go to bed every night.
Yeah, the Kino kiss. Good night.
You know what I've been trying to find is the long kiss goodnight.
Dude, I was just gonna fucking look that up to be like, is that a viable wish for today's episode?
It is viable. There is a Blu-ray of it, but I literally look for it every time I go to Amoeba.
I feel like that will be a Arrow, like big limited edition big box at some point.
Yeah. Drew, it was sort of a no-brainer to have you on when we found out that there would be a 4K re-release of The Departed. Can you just tell us about your relationship to this Martin Scorsese movie?
When I got that text from you, it was one of those moments where you feel like your whole life has been working towards this is why I'm here. This is how I win. This is how I win.
Yep.
You're like making a feature film be damned. I gotta be on these fucking dorks podcasts about physical media.
I saw this movie opening weekend, 2006. I was 12 years old. I saw it with my mom and dad. It is one of those truly, truly most visceral experiences that I remember to this day. It was at a Karasote Showplace. Kurt, I know you guys have a history.
Hell yeah. I used to work there. I used to make popcorn.
That's a theater chain?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Midwest theater chain. Or it was. One of, many fateful departeds, if you will. I have active memories of walking down the stairs after, being in the car afterwards. And also, I distinctly remember going in knowing already who Scorsese was. I have some of my DVDs, the ones that I had from being a child. I have like certain ones I still have, but I don't have like the cases or anything. They've kind of been reduced to just a stack of discs.
Okay.
And so I have a few Scorsese movies still. One of them I had brought up earlier is The Taxi Driver.
There it is.
Another I still have is Casino. And I actually still have The Departed on DVD.
Hell
I remember that.
Yep.
It's just an experience that has never quite left, truly. Like, I still feel exactly the same way. then as I do now when I watch it. When I watch this 4K disc, I still felt exactly that same way. There's just no energy in a film quite like this.
It's a very cool age to see it. As you said, you knew who Scorsese was, and I know who you are, and like
you know who I am. You know who I am.
I'm just shocked that you've seen Casino before that. What, 11?
Honestly, I am
Casino.
I'm a little shocked too.
But it's probably the first Scorsese movie you would have seen in the theater, I would imagine.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
It definitely was, and I do remember seeing Martin Scorsese on David Letterman as well. Like during when the film came out, like Martin Scorsese was a celebrity in the way that Jack Nicholson was.
Yep.
And that was just a different thing back in those days. And I just remember watching Letterman with my dad and seeing Martin Scorsese come on and talk about this movie. It was fucking great.
So The Departed is a 2006 Best Picture winner and takes place in South Boston following a very kind of Whitey Bulger inspired gangster named Frank Costello, who is played by Jack Nicholson. And Costello has like a crew of gangsters, one of whom is Colin Sullivan, played by Matt Damon. And Sullivan is put by Costello into the Boston Police Department as a cadet, as a mole, as a rat. And the film follows him sort of getting promoted, getting deeper and higher up in the police department. Meanwhile, the Boston Police Department puts a mole, a rat, into Costello's criminal organization, and that character is named Billy Costigan and played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Jr.
Leonardo DiCaprio Jr.?
No, Billy Costigan Jr.
I was like, wait, have I been saying that wrong?
Leonardo DiCaprio Jr.
No, William Costigan Jr.
Thank you, yes.
Well, and let's also point out that like the only two people in the police department who know that Leo is undercover are Martin Sheen, who plays
Captain Queenan, and then Marky Mark, Sergeant Dignam. Yeah.
Yep. And so Leo is constantly sort of in, covert communication with the two of them. Essentially, the plot is like Matt Damon is trying to find Leo and Leo is trying to find Matt Damon. And all the while, the police are trying to take down Frank Costello, played by Jack Nicholson, which is just like a fucking banger idea for a movie.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's great. Especially when like there's that great line when he says something along the lines of, Frank, I'm the guy searching for me. I'm looking for myself. It's so good.
I put my money on no one finds anybody.
Yeah.
I remember this theater going experience vividly too. River East,
Yes.
Chicago, 2006, definitely probably the day it came out.
Yeah.
You use the word energy, and like it is literally like an energetic movie in a way that nothing else is. It moves so fast. It's almost like intentionally a little like rough around the edges because it's going so quickly.
There are so many rule breaking moments in this film that it blows my mind every time I watch it.
Continuity mistakes. I mean, they're not even mistakes though, because they're adding to this this really breakneck pace.
There's a lot of sound design and sound edit choices that are tropes that like we're so used to, but they're not the same at all. And at the end of the cold open, it's Dignam, Queenan, and Costigan. And, you already pretended to be from South Boston. Do it again for us. Do it for me, says Queenan. And when he says that, the Dropkick Murphys song starts to slowly fade in. Mm-hmm. And then after he accepts it, it cuts to that tracking dolly shot from left to right of him entering the jail cell. And before it cuts, and it's on like Leo and Martin Sheen, it's like probably, like negative 38 decibels, just slowly fading up. When it cuts, the Dropkick Murphys cue is at like full, like negative 18 decibels, as if to suggest the song was playing in the prison, but it's not, of course. We're familiar with something like that, like a character's like smoking cigarettes outside of a club. And it's like, let's go into the club. And you hear the music behind them, but then it cuts to them them in the club, and now it's at full volume.
Yeah.
Like he's doing that, but that's like not at all what's going on. And there's so many moments like that throughout the film that it's just,
but it's just a little jolt. Like every one of those things is just like, oh, okay. Like
constantly. That cold open is insane.
It's a fun cold open too, because I forgot that the title sequence happens. I was like, oh, maybe it's, sometimes they happen at the end of the movie. I was like, oh, cool. It's going to be one that happens at the end. And I totally forgot that you get about 15 minutes in and then it cuts to it.
At least.
And then that song comes in. It's phenomenal, dude.
So phenomenal. There is a moment where they have one of their board meetings and like it's been like kind of conventionally shot as a Scorsese movie can get, but then all of a sudden like Matt Damon like gets up at the table and he goes to the door. It's like 2 seconds long, but it's like a crane shot for whatever reason, and like all of the Foley like jumps up. Like now you're hearing like phones ringing, you're hearing like people making calls and just like files shuffling and papers and things like that, but it's like 2 seconds and it's at the very tail end. It is filled to the brim with like these little like breaths of fresh air that just like give you the most sort of revitalizing movie going experience ever, arguably.
He also really knows how to slow down.
Yes.
And when to slow down.
It knows when to do no music. It knows when to play nothing. It knows
just hold on these great actors sometimes for,
and you just hear the sound of seagulls.
Exactly.
The Vera and Leo scenes like really take their time. Mm-hmm. They're like a lot more quiet than the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. They're not edited at that breakneck pace the rest of the movie is edited at. They're quite sweet scenes in all honesty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's great in this.
She's so good.
She's incredible in this.
I really picked up on when her and Leo are together. When he first comes over to her house, he's like, oh, I like that you don't have cats.
Yes. That's good. He says that's good.
He's a fucking rat. Like it's just like the thematics of like over the top.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's so funny when Colin and Madeline have that conversation about him being impotent. She's eating a banana. She has a banana that's on like they're going for it the whole time.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
Should we take it to the top here? Because the opening is the best introduction. Boston, some years ago, we get some actual archival footage as we hear Jack Nicholson's voice come over. I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. Mm-hmm. Right? And then he talks more and we get some just amazing sort of like, insight into his mantra. We see this sort of almost like Frank Capra-esque look into the Southie like projects of Boston through the eyes of Martin Scorsese. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like they held back things. Like I see that, hey, Carmen, did you get your period yet? Like that to me, I was like, oh, Carmen is Gwen. Like that's the rewrite I have in my head. Carmen is Gwen because they look so similar. Like that, the child actor.
Oh wow,
looks
that's insane.
Like,
that's his girlfriend later,
right? Like I feel like everything comes from that luncheonette.
Wow.
And that's like if
really
it was
fun.
like. And if it was Angels Have Dirty Faces or something like that, then like you would have seen Costigan in there, like his dad would have been talking to Johnny Sullivan, the plumber, and like all of that stuff. But yeah, I feel like they like pulled back.
There is a deleted scene with young Costigan. Did you see that?
I watched the deleted scenes back when I had the DVDs, and that was the earliest experience that I ever had of being like, I should not have watched those. Wow. I should not have watched those because it changed. It is a masterpiece in my mind. I'm here, first of all, let me just say, I'm here to defend The Departed. I am here to say, this is my favorite Martin Scorsese film. There's nothing like it. And because I remember in 2006 when he won Best Director, it was the sentiment was like, oh, they're just like kind of giving it to him. This is like essentially like an honorary award
for all the ones that he should have won for.
Yeah. Fuck that. This is the best. There is nothing like it. There are extensions of like the filmmaking styles from other movies, but like we were talking about Casino. Casino is very much an extension of Goodfellas. It is like this spiritual companion piece to it. This isn't really a companion to any of his movies. And it just exists in this like singular sort of thing. I don't have another movie that I watch around it. You could watch the other Boston movies that became a big deal because of this movie. Like, I don't know, the
Gone Baby Gone, or
or like
The Town,
the Dennis Lehane.
Yeah.
Shutter Island came next.
I don't know if I'm ready to declare it Scorsese's best movie, but I think that it is my favorite movie of his, without a doubt, like in my top 10, if not my top 5. And it's a movie that as soon as it's over, I would watch it again.
Not that there's not funny scenes in Goodfellas or Casino. Like, there are very kind of like, you know, the drama's dialed up, the emotion's dialed up, and there's some really great lines and funny scenes in those movies. But The Departed, like, makes me laugh way harder than those movies do.
There is a certain darkness, but also like spiritualism to it that the writing has there. You know, the idea of The Departed, everyone has a sort of person that is dead in their life that somehow ties them to somebody else in the film in a way. And in a way, like The Departed are the ones like guiding it. And there is this dark sort of macabre, but it's very light as well in that sense. And there is, Scorsese's even said, you know, when he talked about like Last Station of Christ, just like how the subtext was taken away. Everything that's usually on the subtext of his movies was now the literal text of the movie, and maybe that was something that detracted from it. I think this is one of his most spiritual, non-spiritual movies. And I think that lends to the humor of it.
And all about death. Like,
all about death.
Yeah. There's a real lightness to the like literal aesthetic of the movie that I think makes it so funny. Like the performances are really big. Everything is just a little cartoony. And the subject matter is really dark and intense and serious and like crime movie, gangster, familiar. But there's something about, how colorful it is, how fast it's moving, the huge strokes from Nicholson and Mark Wahlberg and Alec Baldwin in like the sidelines of the movie, you know, amidst like these incredibly emotional performances from Leo, especially. It elevates it from being just kind of one genre.
Yeah. The production design as well is something that I think he's drawing from these sort of studio films from like the 40s and the 50s and stuff like that. A lot of it's on stage.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the kind of bummers about the 4K, and it's not necessarily like a dig at the 4K, but you can just really tell the scenes that are shot on a stage.
Yes.
Like the scene in
Queenan's office.
Yes, 100%. The blue sky looks just like, okay, well, the sky's never been that color.
But I don't think that's ever looked real.
Yeah, it's kind of artificial looking intentionally, I feel like.
Art is artifice. Exactly. He's drawing from these old movies, and they were all like the movies he's drawing from are the movies where somebody like walks into an office, closes the door, and they close it a little too hard and the wall wobbles. You know what I mean? These are the sort of movies that The Departed is drawing from. Yeah, but I do agree with you, Sam. And I do think that it's another thing. Like, the movie was made for a film experience back in the day, and I'd almost rather at points put in my DVD than I would putting in the 4K for those moments, just because I know how much of an evening sort of like it does. But I do ultimately agree with the choices because everyone always talks about the CG rat at the end being like, oh, it's so bad, but it's like, no, we're talking about the backings when we're talking about this. We're talking about, you know, the clearly also, chroma key stuff, you know.
Dude, I'll defend that CG rat over any of the fucking CG creatures in True Detective season 4.
This was a different time. Let's just say that too.
That's what I'm saying. The rat looks fucking better.
It does.
I was talking to our friend Joel about The Departed last night and just agreeing with each other about, like, if there are people who watch this who go like, oh, the rat, it's just like so over the top. You didn't need it at the end. It's like, yo, what movie did you just watch?
It's like, so fun.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's a nation of rats, Francis. You know, like, it's the funniest shit.
Yeah, to me, it feels like a play in a way.
100%.
It's like Scorsese's play. Like, I feel like I'm on, like I'm in a theater watching him just put a play on with like all these little characters and
it's
these little props.
It's his opera. It is his opera, 100%. And Costello even goes to the opera. You know?
It feels like everyone's having so much fun playing these characters.
Oh my God.
It's just, you can feel it.
Like one of the things that you are highlighting, Kim, is why it's so fun to watch, is that everyone, cast and crew alike, seem like they're just having a great time. I mean, it seems like Scorsese's having a great time. Marky Mark, you know, him and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, we got to talk about them.
Oh my God.
And Martin Sheen.
Yes.
Chewing the scenery. Dude, I watched this movie this time and I was like, can Martin Sheen be my dad?
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
just a delight.
Awesome,
Well,
man.
it's
just wonderful.
It's his two dads. That's like the movie. You know, you've got your Uncle Jackie and then you've got your dad, the donkey who works at the airport, you know, and it's like, it's Costello and fucking Queenan. And those are his dads. It's the best.
So this movie is based on a 2002 Hong Kong film called Infernal Affairs. Are you guys familiar with that? Have you seen that?
I've never seen it, but I know Criterion put out, it's a trilogy?
Yes, they put out the trilogy recently, last year, I think, on Blu-ray.
I might have to get that
Drew,
next sale.
you've seen it?
I have seen it. I saw it around the release of The Departed. Okay. And so I was either 12 or 13. And I do distinctly remember watching them on YouTube. That was like, someone had uploaded them to YouTube and I watched them in like 20 parts or something.
I watched Infernal Affairs, the first one, this morning. And it's excellent. And this movie owes so much to it. It's like, it's unbelievably similar.
Cool.
Stylistically as well.
Kurt, I take it you have the Criterion release?
No, I actually watched it on Max.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
All three of them are on there. But I highly recommend that first movie if you like The Departed. Not to take any credit away from The Departed, but it was very fascinating to have such a deep relationship with something and to know all along that it was based on another film, but to finally see it and realize how much had existed already.
Totally.
It has a similar energy, honestly. Like it moves very quickly and but not in the same kind of cartoony special Scorsese tone, I guess you'd say. It's not nearly as funny.
I'd love to revisit those, yeah.
Yeah, you should.
You said the lead, Kurt, is in The Mood for Love?
Yeah.
Does he play the Leo or the Matt Damon part?
Leo.
No, fun. Where do you... Okay, I mean, I guess you both already answered it because Drew, you said it's your favorite Scorsese, like without a doubt. Kurt, is this your favorite... Not Scorsese necessarily, but your favorite of his gangster movies?
It is my favorite Scorsese. I think I said like I wouldn't gun to my head be like it's his best movie ever. I don't feel comfortable with that question.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I second that.
I do think
sentiment.
it's my favorite. Oh, actually, no, it isn't.
What's your favorite?
Silence.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. That's a great.
Yeah,
that's a
Wolf
great.
of Wall Street is my favorite.
To this,
yeah,
though.
absolutely. But this is a close second, and yeah, there you go. I don't know. I guess it is not my favorite because it's not my favorite Leo because that's my favorite Leo.
No.
Gotcha.
I don't know what my favorite Scorsese is, just like at any given time. It kind of depends on what I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of his gangster movies, I'm landing in this spot right now that it's kind of between this and Casino.
Mm-hmm.
I think Casino, because it is so close to Goodfellas, kind of gets overlooked.
Absolutely.
But there are phenomenal moments in Casino.
Oh, yeah. I love
100%.
Casino.
I got to see that on 35 at the tail end of last year, and it was so fucking awesome.
That's
man.
awesome.
Another absolutely phenomenal 4K disc.
Yeah.
Casino.
That was one of the
Oh,
first
yeah.
4K discs I got, actually.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, we made
It was
it.
an early one, I think. Yeah, we made it.
Made it. Getting to see that dummy fly into the fucking air.
Yeah.
4K,
yeah.
baby. Let's go.
Another, like,
Who gives a shit?
who gives a shit?
Fucking gives a shit. It's a movie. Okay.
Dude, the
He's
scene...
not fucking exploding. He's not in the car. Surprise. I don't know if you know
Dude,
it.
shout out to my older brother. My older brother, when we were kids, used to think they would hire actors who wanted to die,
Yep.
and they would get killed in real life and be dead.
I thought that for a little while, too.
That's awesome. That's amazing. There's a movie.
It's really funny. I might sign up for that, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
You live in LA long enough, and
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm
you don't,
done.
you
That's
don't
just
rule
what
that out.
happens. They just happens. You don't necessarily
happens.
sign it, but it just fucking happens.
Yeah.
I would never necessarily say it's his best. It is my absolute favorite, hands down.
Well, it's very easy to watch. Like when we put it on the other night, I was like, oh, I'll just start it with you. And then, because I've seen it a million times,
Yeah.
I'll just go, I need to go do other stuff and get ready for work and tomorrow. And then I just like couldn't stop watching it. I was like, I have to, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish this. I can't step away. But it's those performances out of these guys that are just remarkable and so funny and so entertaining. So it just hooks you.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the best performances.
Some of the best performances.
Going into this movie, Leo, I had seen The Aviator and I'd seen Gangs of New York, and I liked him in things,
Mhm.
but he was always a little bit like the guy from Titanic. And I grew up,
Yeah.
in a time when like all the girls I liked Leo from
Right.
Titanic when I was in 5th grade, And so like, I feel like boys of my generation, like it wasn't cool to like him when that movie came out.
Sure.
And I remember seeing this movie and just going over the waterfall for him, just being like, oh
Yeah.
shit, Leo, like he is next level special, and obviously always has been, but has continued to prove it over and over with Marty and others.
Yeah.
What scene was it, Kim? I was like, that was it. That was the part. It's where he beats the shit out of those 2 Italian guys in the little bodega
Yeah.
with the coat rack.
The two gentlemen from Providence. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. So I've read the script for this, and that is a moment that like, and this has like notoriously like that like there is a history of this in like screenplays where it's like the biggest one is like Lawrence of Arabia, like they storm Aqaba, like it's that one sentence, but like the whole like set.
Yep.
Then David Lean steps in. This
Yep.
is one where it's like there is a very, very, very violent scene that takes place, and it is shocking. Is like something to that extent is like all that's written there. And when you know that that's like all that was there, it's very fun to envision like Marty and Leo there on the day, just like, okay, so what are we thinking here? Like, let's take a look at what's going on. Like, okay, so we've got this, comic book rack. Maybe we'll push you through that, and you'll fly into this, and then you'll punch him, and then you'll hurt your hand, and then you'll go over there to the coat rack, and you'll flip it over, and you'll jab, and you'll jab. Let's try that. Like it's totally just one of those scenes that they just did. It's very, very Taxi Driver-esque, of that robbery that he sort of intervenes in. Great scene.
Well, also speaking of the performances, we have the great Jack Nicholson in it.
Yes.
What's the difference in years between The Bucket List is like his last movie, right? Like how many performances did he have after this before he kind of retired?
He retired in 2010. 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we know because this has got to be one of the last big ones, right?
It's probably the last great one
Yeah.
that I could
that's
think of. Yeah.
I was trying to think off the top of my head, and I was like, I'm pretty sure The Bucket List. I know that's a favorite of yours, Kurt. I'm pretty sure
The Bucket List came out. It came out in 2007.
He's got
So
a
this
James
came
L.
out
Brooks one, I
2006.
think, is his last film, isn't it?
Oh, How Do You Know?
How Do You Know?
Jesus Christ.
But dude, I mean,
Not the best way to go out, Jack, but all right.
my 2 favorite actors are Jack and Leo, and the 2 of them, every scene, but especially where they meet at the restaurant and Nicholson's like trying to sniff out whether he's the rat, literally sniff out in some moments. It's just like the greatest thing in the world. It
when
is.
he's talking to French and Jack Nicholson is behind him.
Yep.
And he's like got his finger up to his
that's
mouth,
fun.
and he's sniffing him from the back. Dude,
Eat something.
it's insane.
Jack is.
Um,
It's one of the best Jack Nicholsons, which is saying
Does he
a
say
lot.
"eat something" 3 times in that scene?
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
There.
At least twice.
And that's later, but like when he is introduced, that is another bizarre one of those like, what a fucking crazy way to do that. Because we're like behind the bar looking at Leo, and then we cut to that like shot of the two people sitting at the end of the bar. Like, I don't know what she said. He said it's something about the wedding, you know, and there's like these two people, and then we pan over. And now that Rolling Stones song has like come in, and it's diegetic, and Jack is sitting, and it's a 2-shot now, you know, and like that is the introduction of Costello within his storyline, right? Like we've seen him, he's had his big like because in the cold open he's all in shadows and everything like that, but this is like the first time he's now in Costigan's storyline. And for the meeting, just to get him in that 2-shot, so direct, so just like that's how we're doing it. And then they go into that back room and the song keeps playing and everything. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Matt Damon, who is the mole that Jack Nicholson has put into the police force.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great. He's great at being, you know, a little sniveling, like, he's just such a shit.
He's the all-time scoundrel, man. Matt Damon is my favorite scoundrel in cinema. I actually watched School Ties as well this week for the first time.
Oh,
and
I've never seen that, actually.
It's like, you know, I don't know how old he is in it, but he's young and he's doing the same shit. It's great.
Tom Ripley,
Interstellar.
I was just going to say fucking Interstellar.
Rewatching it, I was trying to watch it from an angle of just like, I want to really pay attention to how many times they reference other characters knowing each other, knowing other members of their family and stuff to that extent. And the first like mention of Colin's family, because you get a really good grasp of Costigan's, but you don't quite peek into the background or like flashback for Sullivan. Costello approaches him and he's like, "Are you Johnny Sullivan's kid?" And then also after the rugby game, forget it. You know, your father's a plumber.
Yep.
You know, his son's only going to be a cop.
Yep.
You don't really get much about his past, but you get this idea that he's got nothing. He just doesn't have much at all.
And is determined to exceed his past.
Yes, to become something at any
I mean, just
cost.
the apartment.
Oh my
Exactly.
God.
Yeah, like the apartment, it's like, this is it, right? Like I can put this on this pedestal, and when I can get this thing, then I've made it. We all know that type of person.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, you're a fucking frustrating person to be around.
And he's also like watching Takashi Miike's audition. Like
he is?
That's the movie that's playing on the TV. Like, this guy's fucking insane.
Yeah. So Warner Brothers just put this out. There's a Steelbook and just a regular Blu-ray. Or sorry, 4K.
Yeah.
And the 4K is just a 4K and a digital code, which I feel like, Kurt, I texted you about this briefly. I don't feel like I own a lot of just 4Ks without a Blu-ray included. Not that I'm bummed. I don't necessarily need the Blu-ray anymore, but I thought it was an interesting thing. I wasn't going to upgrade this, and then I decided to kind of last minute. I got the non-Steelbook version.
Same.
And other than, you know, like what I pointed out earlier, it kind of, Kurt, I'm not disagreeing with you. I do think that we've kind of always been able to see where the seams are in the frame. But I do think that with the new transfer, it's highlighted slightly more. And because so much of this, I think, Drew, you were saying this earlier, but so much of this movie just takes place in broad daylight.
Yeah.
It's such a difference compared to Goodfellas, really, mostly, because Casino is also pretty brightly lit, just being under all the casino lights. But so much of this is supposed to be in natural lighting or outside. It really is like a very bright, colorful disc.
Yeah, the HDR looks so good.
Yeah, I do have that sentiment that you have, Sam, of like it kind of reveals a little more than you'd want. But it's always been that way. That I do agree with, and I do agree that is the idea of the movie. So I welcome it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Without a doubt.
It's a great disc.
As soon as it started, I was like, oh, baby.
Yeah.
Like, thank God.
Yes, yeah. I completely agree. It's just one of those movies that you want to not necessarily see it the best way either. Like, you want to hear it the best way too, because it's just
the flip phones.
Oh my God.
It's really great.
Yeah.
It's so
the ringtones.
over the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when the flip phones flip open in this movie, it sounds like a gun cocking. It's like,
Yeah, totally.
The insert shots are fucking insane in this movie. They don't give a fuck. Like the shot of like Scorsese's never given a fuck, but like there's definitely like some moments of just like it's just so nice to have them like cheated so hard, like with in the cold open, like the one that comes to
you're
mind.
talking about
Continuity and just like fucking who gives a fuck, you know? Like there's like child Colin holds out his hand and then there's a cut and then the money comes in.
A jump.
So it's like two shots within that one setup. And it works though. That's the thing about all of these moments. One thing that comes to mind is there's like this YouTube channel like from like years ago. It's like everything wrong with ... you know, and it's just like Django Unchained. They look at this, you know, and stuff like that. If you're looking at movies where there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, you already played yourself. You fucked up. Like it's all fake. Like it doesn't matter. And Scorsese has always been the best at just going with it and going with it and going with it.
Yeah.
It's like that sort of rock and roll energy, but it isn't, you know, like one movie I rewatched recently, Imprint put out was a Narc with the Joe Carnahan like movie.
Sam and I both have the pre-order for Arrow's release of it.
They put it out on 4K, right? Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
That's like an example of like that type of like high octane Guy Ritchie, Joe Carnahan. Like that is like what this is like getting at. They're trying to elicit the same sort of like, oh my God, crime sort of feeling. But this is the highest level of production and taste possible.
Yep.
There's the scene or the voiceover rather in Goodfellas where Karen gets like 3 lines of voiceover in the middle of the movie and then she has that's it.
Yeah.
And like you put that on paper and you give that to a different filmmaker and it's like, well, that's never going to work.
Right.
Why would that ever work? Right. We've had one narrator this entire time. Like, why would this work? And in the middle of the movie, it's a little jarring for a second, but you're like, oh yeah, totally. You're still on board with it.
Yeah. Talking about like rule breaking. There's Costello. He walks into the luncheonette and Gimme Shelter by the Stones is playing. And then he starts talking to young Colin Sullivan. The song transitions into Howard Shore's music cue, which then transitions back into Give Me Shelter. It's fucking insane. No one would ever think of doing that.
Just real quickly, we are going to spoil this movie. So if you somehow have not seen The Departed, go watch it and then come back. I just remember so vividly at the end of this movie when Leo gets shot, the entire room, myself included, just like audibly going,
yeah.
Yes.
If you hadn't seen Infernal Affairs, like it is so shocking, this ending, and so ballsy. And just like, even in a movie like this, you still feel like you're safe from that type of thing happening, even for how radical it is and that it's Scorsese up to that moment. I never thought the hero, the guy who we've been watching like get his ass kicked the whole time and being kind of the emotional, you know, compass of the experience, you just don't expect him to get his fucking brains blown out. And just like, it's so matter of fact, it's so blunt, it's just so ballsy. I think it really just sealed the deal on this movie being so special.
I remember even back when I was 12 and I saw this with a full audience, it was audible, everyone gasping all at once. You know, it was just because the whole thing leading up to it felt like that could be the ending. You knew that there would be some sort of like love triangle resolve, but like you just did it. It literally could end any way, but you really kind of felt like it was going to end how it was shaping up.
It's a pretty wild ending to a movie, especially because just it doesn't really feel like fully wrapped up like some of the other parts of the movie does. It's cool. I like that juxtaposition.
There's so much trust from on the writing side that is given to the audience, and movies that give the viewer a great amount of trust, I think those are very, very ballsy moves and movies, but they also have so much reward. They're just so...
Yeah, I mean, the story,
100%.
it extends beyond the frame,
Yeah.
you know, in a way that makes it the characters more important to you, the story more important to you. We mentioned a little bit the Howard Shore score, but
Yeah.
there is like the Billy Costigan theme is so beautiful. And there is a scene where Leo and Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg are kind of standing on a riverbank, and like Leo is freaking out about the fact that he thinks he's going to get killed.
Yeah.
And the Howard Shore strings are kind of being plucked over this really intense Leo performance.
If anyone
it's
were
so
to be
sad.
watching, how could I not arrest you right now?
Yeah.
But it's so sad when you see it a second time, you know.
Yeah.
It's like really emotional. This movie's got it all. It's the best.
Okay, everyone, I want you to do your favorite line in your best Boston accent.
Well, there's too many for me, but I'll do one that like comes to me all the time is Qui gives a shit. That's like the funniest. Qui bono, who benefits? Qui gives a shit. It's got a freaking bow on it.
Mine is Alec Baldwin saying, I'm going to go out for a cigarette. You want a cigarette? Wait, you don't smoke, do you? What are you, some kind of fitness freak? Go fuck yourself.
You one of those fitness freaks?
That's the best. That is the best
Oh, there's
line.
so many great.
And that little smile he gives. Oh.
Yeah.
God,
He hits him in the stomach while he does it. What are you, a fitness freak? Mine's not super Boston, but I love when French goes, now have a drink on the house. What are you drinking?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like cranberry juice. Cranberry juice? What are you on your period? Like right after the whole fight started.
Yeah.
What are you on your period? That Leo look after that? Oh, my God.
Yeah. What are you on your period?
He also has a great, hey, it's Uncle Jackie's nephew. Oh, what? Oh, fucking what? Like, it's so written, but Ray Winslow just fucking knocks it out of the park. There's
Maybe,
so funny.
maybe not. Maybe go fuck yourself.
I'm the guy doing my fucking job. You must be the other guy.
All right, we gotta go.
We're here all
the
night. Another hour.
Last great one. Last great one is I'm sorry, I gotta go. My computer's getting all friggin' bluey on me.
Okay, before we go, Drew, every episode we wish for movies to come out on a format that they do not already exist on. Are you ready to get spooky?
I wish.
Ooh, here we go.
I wish for a Blu-ray or a 4K, dare I get greedy, of Night of the Juggler.
I wish for a Kino Lorber 4K of Junior.
I wish for a Blu-ray or 4K, ideally 4K, of Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead. We wish. Great. Night of the Juggler, what's that about?
Yeah, what's that?
It is an 80s crime thriller starring James Brolin. It's a New York film where he is an ex-cop whose daughter gets kidnapped mistakenly. Him chasing down the kidnapper through New York.
Sick.
Dang, that
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
It's a notoriously never been disked film. I have a VHS copy of which I'm
Ooh.
happy to have. It's a media
Oh, yeah.
release. Wonderful, wonderful tape. It's just one of those movies that I am definitely not the only person wishing for this
There's
one.
not even a DVD of it?
That's correct, yeah. You could get like a
Wow.
DVD from like the people who put VHS rips on DVDs and sell them on websites.
Sure.
But there is not
Yeah.
an actual release of it on DVD or
Got it,
Blu-ray.
got it.
Fun City, that would be a great Fun City release.
I feel like even Arrow's on this kind of like crime path right now.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they dropped it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Do they ever do films screenings of it around?
Yes, I saw it at the New Beverly
hell yeah.
sometime after the world reopened. And it was Night of the Juggler paired with Miss 45.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
And it was everyone was there. It was a sold out show. Larry Karaszewski was there. Sean Baker was there. It was one of those screens where it was like, oh, Night of the Juggler's playing. Like, everyone who knew. If you know, you know. I guess you could say. It's one of those kind of movies. It's huge on TikTok.
Yeah, the kids love it.
Sam.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say? Since we started this show, apparently I only watch Arnold movies from here on out. I mean, sign me up for Junior. Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant, and Danny DeVito plays his doctor. Another Ivan Reitman movie. I believe it's right after, or a couple years after Kindergarten Cop.
I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it since being a kid. Sign me up, baby. Day one.
I never saw it. My mom was like too turned off, I think, by the VHS cover to like let me rent it.
Stoner Days, that was a go-to.
Come on.
Like teenage Stoner Days back in high school, that was a
Hell yeah.
go-to, yeah.
Bringing Out the Dead is a 99 Martin Scorsese movie, I believe, about an ambulance driver in Manhattan, played by Nicolas Cage, who is really struggling with visions of the people who have died on his watch and seeing them as sort of ghost-like figures around New York. It co-stars John Goodman and Tom Sizemore, Patricia Arquette and Mark Anthony. Talk about breakneck speed. I mean, it honestly kind of makes The Departed or scenes of it make The Departed look like they're in slow motion. Like, this movie is really anxious and high octane and coked out, frankly. The vibe. Ving Rhames is also in this movie, but has never had a release beyond DVD. And I catch it once in a while on the big screen here in LA and New Beverly and stuff like that. And maybe, you know, kind of a B-side for Scorsese, but just a really visceral, one of a kind. Drew, are you a fan, I assume?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's another of the Martin Scorsese, Paul Schrader team-ups. And
oh, yeah, that's right. Schrader.
Yeah, just a Martin Scorsese New York movie written by Paul Schrader. Come on, you know, let's go.
Okay, that's it for our show. A huge thank you to Drew Hanks for being our very first guest here on Physical Therapy, a movie podcast. Did you have fun, Drew?
Oh my God, are you kidding? When I listen to you guys, it's sometimes, you know, it gets to be like it's too much. It's literally like the voices in my brain. I can't believe that it exists on Spotify. And I'll just never forget. I think it was you, Sam, in one of them. You're talking about like the indicator 3 for 15 sales, and you're like, and that time I got 9. It was wild. And I'm like, yeah, that was fucking wild. You get 9 of them? You know, I know that feeling, and I can't believe somebody else said it. Am I crazy? No, I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored as a friend and a fan of the podcast.
We love you, Drew.
Yeah, thank you,
Hell
Drew.
yeah, Drew. Everybody go watch The Made Man on either YouTube, or what you really should do is pick it up on Blu-ray at Diabolic DVD.
Yeah, we'll put a link on our Instagram and website.
And if you're not using Diabolic, you should be using Diabolic. We love them.
They rule. They totally rule.
They rule.
A big thank you to Patrick Laban for our awesome music, and to Kimberly for producing.
Thanks so much, Kim. Thanks so much, Kim.
Kim.